The Gaping Maw was the 88th layer of the Abyss, and the home of Demogorgon, Prince of Demons. Mimicking the dual personality of its two-headed master, the Gaping Maw was half jungle-covered continent and half vast ocean. In 1st edition, the Gaping Maw is described as the realm of Demogorgon and spanning multiple layers, yet each is a jungle filled with dinosaurs, wild apes, and bird-like monsters in addition to the standard complement of demonic life. 2nd edition states that it only spans one layer, the 88th. It is a layer of briny water and rocky prominences used as rookeries by flying Tenari. Most of the layer is underwater and consists of dark caverns that have never seen light. 3rd edition states that the Gaping Maw represents Demogorgon's dual personality. A massive primeval continent covered in dense jungle houses those demons and mortals who serve Demogorgon as a force of strength and brutality, whereas the seemingly endless oceans and brine flats that surround the land conceal far more subtle adherents to the sibilant beast, such as Kraken and the elusive Ixtitzichitl. In 4th edition, Demogorgon's realm once again spans multiple layers, however it has a different name. In every other edition, the entirety of Demogorgon's realm is called the Gaping Maw, and the jungle portion of it is called the Screaming Jungle. However, in 4th edition, the Gaping Maw is the specific name for the ocean part of his domain, and is the 88th layer. The Screaming Jungle is the 90th layer, and the domain in its entirety is called Abysm. In every other edition, Abysm is the specific name for the fortress Demogorgon rules from. Originally, the 90th layer was a separate layer called the Guttering Grove, ruled by Ilsidahur, the patron of the Barlagora, and an ally of Demogorgon. The Screaming Jungle had a portal to this layer, but eventually, Demogorgon conquered Guttering Grove and it merged with the 88th layer. Leave it to 4th edition to swap names around and confuse the shit out of me for no good reason. In 5th edition, Demogorgon's domain is once again called the Gaping Maw and is described as a massive primeval continent covered in dense jungle, surrounded by a seemingly endless expanse of ocean and brine flats. Now, that description might sound familiar, and that's because it's copy and pasted from 3rd edition. It also states, and this is unique to 5th edition, that it is a vast wilderness of savagery and madness where even powerful demons go insane with fear. So, as you can see, through most editions, it's half jungle and half endless ocean. The exception are 1st and 2nd edition. In 1st edition, it seems to only be jungles, and doesn't mention any ocean aspects, and then 2nd edition, it's mostly ocean, with a couple bits of rocky, jagged land poking up, filled with flying-type demons, but no mention of jungle. But in 3rd edition onward, it's half jungle, half ocean, and that sort of represents Demogorgon's dual nature since he does have 2 heads and 2 personalities. I will say that 1st and 2nd edition really only give a handful of sentences on this layer, and it definitely got fleshed out a lot more in 3rd edition onward. Ruler. Demogorgon is the ruler in every edition, so let's learn about him. First, I would like to point out that the official pronunciation of Demogorgon, according to Dragon Magazine number 93, is actually Demogorgon. However, I prefer saying Demogorgon. It just rolls off the tongue better. I personally think it sounds better, and it's also how they pronounce it in Stranger Things. So for this video, I'm going to be using that pronunciation, but every now and then I might swap to the other just to see how it sounds. Keep in mind though, in a made-up fantasy universe, there's really no such thing as a wrong pronunciation, especially when you keep in mind the fact that there's hundreds of languages, dialects, and different cultures in these made-up universes, and so you're going to have lots of individuals who pronounce names and words in different ways. Especially when it comes to these extra planar beings that most people have probably only read about and haven't actually asked the Demon Lord himself how he pronounces his name, so I wouldn't really worry too much about pronunciation when it comes to these types of things. So, what is Demogorgon? Well, he is the demon lord and lesser deity of domination and the draining of energy, an embodiment of madness and destruction that seeks to drag all down into the infinite depths of the abyss. He is known by many names, called Siosivash by the Wanti, Limug Gugun the Deep Father by the Kuatoa, and Amon Ibor the Sibilant Beast by the Troglodytes. His self-proclaimed title is Prince of Demons. Demogorgon towers 8 feet in height. His body is sinuous like that of a snake and powerful like that of a great ape. He has 2 baboon heads, each arm was a pair of tentacles, and he had an immense forked tail. His lower torso was saurian, like some great reptile with blue-green, scaly skin. According to 1st edition, it is contended by some that Demogorgon is supreme, and in any event he is awesome in his power. His greatest enemy is Orcus, and their enmity is immense and unending, potentially more so than the hate between any other demon lord. In 2nd edition, Demogorgon is described as a lesser god and shows the Ixtlilxochitl, also called demon rays, a race of sentient rays, as his worshippers. The vampiric Ixtlilxochitl can become the most powerful priest. These Demogorgon worshipping Ixtlilxochitl protect and strengthen their communities, building up strength for massive all-out attacks against neighboring sentient creatures. They settle the newly decimated area and do the same thing again. They also capture creatures through their priestly domination magic so that they can sacrifice them by draining their energy rather than slaying them immediately. It is believed that this energy draining siphons power to Demogorgon and in turn makes the Ixtlilxochitl more powerful spellcasters. Demogorgon hoards his strength, attacking the Sahuagin from time to time and only rarely exhausting his strength for the Blood War. In 3rd edition, Demogorgon is given an origin story. When mortal life first formed and their chaotic evil souls came to the Abyss, the Oberiths, original rulers of the Abyss, began to cultivate this evil and created the Tanari to be their slaves. The first Tanari they made was Demogorgon. The ruler of the Oberiths at the time, the Queen of Chaos, considered him broken and flawed and tossed him aside to create better versions. The Queen of Chaos had destroyed the first Prince of Demons, the Oberith Obox Ob, and then gave the title to the Tanari Miska the Wolf Spider, the most powerful Tanari according to her. The Queen of Chaos waged a war against the forces of law, but eventually lost. She was forced to flee to a remote layer of the Abyss called the Steaming Fin, and Miska the Wolf Spider was imprisoned. During the chaos of this loss and the occupation of the Abyss by the Eladrin Court of Stars, the Tanari revolted against their Oberith masters. Orcus and Grozit fought over the title of Prince of Demons, but during their fight, neither could withstand the power of Demogorgon when he claimed the title for himself. The malformed accident had grown strong over time. Dozens of powerful Tanari assaulted his new form, but they were all destroyed. The remaining Tanari lords, including the mighty Orcus and Grozit, were forced to kneel. Demogorgon had claimed his throne. Now, what does Demogorgon want? What are his goals? Well, according to 3rd edition, since he has 2 heads and therefore 2 minds and personalities, he has more goals than any other demon lord. These goals include destroying his 2 greatest enemies, Orcus and Grozit, defeating other enemies such as Fraz Erblu, who tricked him, and Obox Ob, who constantly tries to assassinate him, and satiating his lusts. Demogorgon's left head is Amiul, the more charismatic and calculating of the two. The right head is Hethrodaya, the more savage, feral, and impulsive of the two. Amiul does the scheming, talking, and leading of his armies, while Hethrodaya's wrath is what most of Demogorgon's enemies feel when the Prince of Demons is roused to anger. Both heads believe they would be much more powerful without the other's meddling, yet neither believes he can live without the other. They have concocted many failed plans to separate themselves. 4th edition also has an origin story for Demogorgon, but it's a little different, however, it has a lot of similarities. So, the Shard of Evil that created the Abyss called for one powerful enough to claim it. Tharizdun and the Oberiths had been fighting for its dominion for eons, but eventually the Primordials heard the call and entered the Abyss. Demogorgon was the first Primordial to enter, the second was Dagon. While those two fought, the Oberith Obox Ob claimed the Shard and became the first Prince of Demons. Demogorgon, Orcus, and Baphomet teamed up and threw Obox Ob deeper in the Abyss. Eventually, Tharizdun was imprisoned. The Queen of Chaos killed Obox Ob and gave the title of Prince of Demons to Miska the Wolf Spider, but then the Queen of Chaos and Miska were defeated by the side of law. During this turmoil, Demogorgon acted and asserted the title of Prince of Demons by crushing his rivals and gathering their followers to repel the forces of the Astral Sea from their assault on the Abyss. In 5th edition, it says that Demogorgon's twin heads are named Amiul and Hethrodaya, and they compete in some ways and cooperate in others. Because of his twin heads, he is an entity that is capable of devising and enacting the most clever strategies, paranoid at all times about threats to his rule, and possessed of immense physical power. That's all pretty much the same as 3rd edition. However, 5th edition adds a little bit more insight into his personality, and his ultimate goal is actually very different from earlier editions. According to 5th edition, Demogorgon prefers to find and eliminate enemies before they can ever become powerful enough to challenge him. He combats every challenge with overwhelming force, and his ultimate goal is to destroy all life in the multiverse so that he can be free from the potential of being betrayed or insulted, finally able to rest in a peaceful cosmos. Many believe that if he ever achieved this, his two heads would fight to the death, each devouring the other and leaving behind nothing but an empty void. Apparently, just by looking at a true copy of Demogorgon's symbol, crafted either by Demogorgon himself or one of his most powerful demonic followers, can turn you to his sway, becoming an agent of Demogorgon for the rest of your life. Now, 5th edition doesn't actually say what Demogorgon's symbol looks like, but fortunately, the 3rd edition book, Book of Vile Darkness, does. It describes Demogorgon's symbol as a serpentine forked tail, usually wrapped around something such as a sword or a skull. Inhabitants. Many creatures can be found in the Gaping Maw. You have aquatic demons and other sea monsters, such as krakens, aboleths, Ixtitlichital, and wastreliths. Many of Demogorgon's worshippers are scaly things that hide from the light, so Wanti, lizardfolk, and troglodytes can also be found here. And you also have dinosaurs and fiendish monkeys, lemurs, and apes that dwell in the screaming jungle. And then obviously, you can find almost any type of demon here since it is in the Abyss. However, I would suspect that Barlagoras would be far more common than most other types of demons, since they are the monkey-looking demon and half the layer is a jungle. Also, Demogorgon did conquer Guttering Grove and made its master, Ilsidahur, the patron of the Barlagora, his servant. In terms of important locations, I'm only going to be talking about one, and that is Abysm, the fortress Demogorgon rules from. It is 2 serpentine towers emerging from a turbid sea. Each tower is topped with an enormous fanged skull. According to 3rd edition, the towers extend so far below the sea that they open into the Shadow Sea, Dagon's realm on the 89th layer of the Abyss. Pacts with the reclusive aquatic Oberith have led to powerful discoveries and experiments, many of which stalk the corridors of Abysm in sentient form. According to 5th edition, few creatures can enter Abysm without descending into madness. Between 3rd and 4th edition, there's roughly 18 more locations, each with at least a few sentences of lore. I'm not going to talk about them because then this video would be like an hour long, and most of them are only found in one edition, so I just decided to talk about his fortress Abysm, since that seems to be the most important location and is mentioned in almost every edition. If you want to know more about the Gaping Maw, including those other locations, check out the 3.5 book, Fiendish Codex 1, Hordes of the Abyss, pages 139 through 141, and the 4th edition book, Demonomicon, pages 68 through 71. That is the lore on Demogorgon and his realm, the Gaping Maw, the 88th layer of the Abyss. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video, and remember to subscribe for more D&D related content.